Hey, good morning, Sumit on this side. So this will be an exciting episode. We are going to see how you can add your own AI assistant into your own product. So this is a product that I have been building on and off for quite a while now. It's called Indie Stocks. It's very basic, very simple. It's basically just a downloader for the stock market data. So if you go here, if you download and first of all, you download the data of the list of stocks in the National Stock Exchange. So that's in India, and then you download what we call the bhav copy. Bhav is just the value. That's just a Hindi word, I believe, and it's basically just the data download of the daily end of day daily report. Okay, so this goes all the way back, I believe 15 years or 18 years, maybe more than that. I don't honestly know. I've never really downloaded all the way back that far, but you get the idea that this is a downloader, and then I have a viewer. So you can click on a stock and then you can view any of these stocks. What I wanted to add now, and I've been thinking about this, like, of course I'm building, like, my primary product is Nokodo, which this channel is about, and my primary emphasis is on how do we use AI agents, AI based coding, all of those things. So in this particular application, what I wanted to do was, what if I have a query in my mind? Okay, and that query is in natural language. This is very typical for data analytics. Any kind of software would have something similar. And then what if you wanted AI to go ahead and make that query for you? Of course, we can use tools like Claude Code, OpenCode, Cursor, etc., etc. But in those tools, you are not really integrating AI as part of your application. You are using a separate application and then coming back to your own application and then pasting the generated SQL. I'm sure you have done something like this where you're like, oh, here is the database schema. So first of all, you have to capture the database schema, right? So the how is the table, what is the structure? Maybe you have a CSV file, what is the structure of that file, and then you have to paste that in the schema, like, here are the columns, these are the column descriptions, because how else will AI, how else will Claude generate a query for you, right? It cannot. So it has to know what is your table structure. So what we did, what we are going to show you is how can you embed this as an AI agent into your own tool. So first of all, taking a step back, what is really an AI agent in this context? So I have, like I showed you already, like I'm showing you, this is just a very basic tool to look at stock market data. Now maybe you have a tool which is something similar for hospital data, e-commerce data, data that you're downloading from Amazon as a seller, etc., etc. Any kind of data that you have, and does not have to be, by the way, a desktop app. It can be the database, can be hosted anywhere else. Maybe you get access through your Django admin, maybe you are a Ruby on Rails, maybe you have a Ruby on Rails product, and then you are looking at the data from that admin, a PHP based product, a Node.js based product, whatever it is, wherever your database is, as long as you have access to it, you can now add an AI agent to that. Now, what we are going to look at, and this is, of course, this series is mostly about the behind the scenes of the prompts and how do I prompt and how do you build such applications. So first, I wanted to give you an idea of what this product is. In this case, the main difference is that this product's database is running locally. So this is, just to show you, this is running on top of an SQLite database, which is straight here on this computer. And what I wanted to do is just being able to do human query, and you can see an example. This is a human query where, not natural language query, not human query, but natural language query, where which stocks in the price range of 600 to 1000 have a 52-week low. To be honest, I'm not a stock market person. This is just a hobby project I keep on building. At some point, I'm hoping that this product will be something, but I may not even know the term. So, and that is quite natural, by the way. That is quite the point with AI these days, that AI should be able to, these large language models should be able to pick up given the context. So here, I'm not sharing anything other than this. This, of course, I'm showing it to you separately, and you would say, okay, you have a graphical product. This is a desktop app, and then why are you going there? It's just because I'm testing. I'm testing the thesis here. Can I use AI on top of my database, on top of my existing software? Put AI on top and have a natural language query to SQL, and then actually run that SQL on the database and give me some data. In this particular case, I would say that the SQL that came back, I'm not really sure that this is the correct SQL, which is a totally different discussion we are going to get into. We're going to make it more like we're going to figure out how to get from the intent of the user. In this case, my intent is just to get to the 52-week lows, or let's say poor performance in the stock market for the last 52 weeks, right? Who are the ending low basically over a 52-week period. I believe that's what that means. Again, my intent may be also wrong, by the way. Like I said, I'm not from the stock market background, but just to have that kind of a rough intent, and then within that price bracket 600 to 1000, that means that last closing price should be between 600 to 1000. Okay, so it gave me an SQL, it gave me a response, this was run, all of this done, and I have something. So of course it shows you also some of these things, which it can be totally hidden, by the way, it's not really necessary, but I'm going to take step by step to how did I build something like this. So first of all, with such an application, what is an agent really? An agent is basically a piece of software that you're building which is part of something that you already have. So an agent generally does not lie in void. Like, you don't create only an agent without anything else, without access to a database, your existing system. It's mostly like one of those chat apps, AI based chat apps. I would say that's a good agent. Okay, but that's just a chat app because it's just going back and forth with text and nothing else. It's not adding any other data, it's not accessing your computer or your files, etc, etc. The moment it starts doing those things, that's when we generally call it an agent, and it has its own conversation. It keeps track of those things. That's to me what an agent is. We can look at the definition, because I might also be wrong, by the way, because of course there are so I will say, what is an AI agent? Okay, so it's a smart autonomous software that perceives its environment. Like I said, perceives the environment using reasoning and memory to make decisions, take actions, to achieve goals with minimal human intervention. So I was pretty much right about that. So, and I've been building agents for a while, by the way. I never looked at the official definition because to me that comes naturally. So that's that. But what is it in this context? In this context, it is that we have an existing application. So we have this application which is already the graphical application. We wanted AI to be able to access the database. So here are my prompts, and we are going to look into the prompts because that's the only that's really the best way to look at it. So I'm going to look at, I think I've created the prompts on Claude mostly. So we'll see where it is. Okay, here, this is the one. So this project already has the GUI, correct? So it has the graphical interface software that you are seeing. It has the database connection. It is managing all of those already. I can show you the source code, and then it will make it a bit easier for all of us to understand what it already has, and then what did I add on to it. So it already had this. It had the database, it had the GUI. These are all software, existing software that was already there. I had made it, and then I am basically adding the AI part. So this is now a new project, sub project you could say, and then the CLI, the command line application that I'm using. So eventually I'm going to integrate this into the graphical application, the desktop app that you saw. But I wanted to first test it, and to quickly test it, like, is the response SQL even good enough, or is it working, etc. And I think we are at a stage where I would say that most of the integration is actually working. Of course, the SQL, the response SQL is probably not good enough. Like, why, this is this my intent, is this the output that I wanted, etc. But we can go into that later, and maybe in next few videos will be around these topics. But for now, we had the database integration, which is, like I said, an SQLite database, and then we had the graphical user interface, the GUI software, the desktop app. So what I said here, and this is the important part of the prompt, is that I would like a separate crate for this IndieStocks AI. We can focus on just supporting GLM 4.6 model. It seems like this is part of, okay, so this is the, I believe, the first prompt. Let's see, I'm just scrolling up. Yeah, this is the first prompt. Okay, so in this project I want to add support for LLM enabled analysis of stocks. This was my first prompt. So I already have database. I'm going to anchor the prompt that I'm going to make into this database so that it knows that there is an existing project. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. In this project I want to add support for LLM enabled analysis of stocks. Users should be able to share, a strategy or pattern, and LLM should convert that into SQL for our database. We want to, sorry, give me a minute. we want to have only one tool, SQL. So we want to have only one tool, which is SQL. So AI is given this query natural language, and then SQL would come out, which is shared with the LLM. So the large language model will have access to one tool. What is a tool? A tool is a rough definition of what features you're allowing from your software to be called. Remember, the AI model is going to call. So to be called by the large language model. So the large language model will respond in a JSON in, let's say some kind of an API. There's a format, you're giving the format, you're saying, hey, respond to me with this given format. It'll respond, and then in that response will be SQL queries that it wants you to run, that your software will be running that against your database. Okay, so the tool accepts SQL for our SQLite database. So I've specified that their database is SQLite. In the prompts, if you make those things very specific, it just helps the model to understand what is the context, runs it and returns row count. So I need the row count. How many rows did this query, when it ran, how many rows did we get? The data with pagination, etc. I think LLM needs access to only the table that have stock price data for sure, because there is download data, etc., etc. I don't think they are related, because users generally in my application, how I'm thinking through, they don't need access to those kind of things, right? They are mostly looking for the stock data. Please analyze the project and share a very high level plan. So it did share, and I don't have history of that, but then the plan was pretty nice, and then I added this extra prompt. I would like to separate the crate for this. So crate is in Rust, because this is all made in Rust. Rust is the programming language I mostly work with. Crate is like a separate module, or a, I would say slightly higher. I would say like a sub project. A module is more like a file inside that crate. And then I wanted to call it IndieStocks AI, because I had IndieStocks database, I had IndieStocks GUI, etc. So AI made sense. And then we can focus on just supporting the GLM 4.6 model. GLM 4.6 is from ZAI. It's a new model. It's been there for 3-4 months now. It's really good for the price. It's very competitive with Cloud Sonnet, and also I wanted to use that because it's cheaper, and I already have subscription for that. I also have subscription for Sonnet, but I wanted to use this. So please look at, now I give it reference to another project I'm building, which is NoCodo, by the way, which is the channel this is about, particularly the manager LLM providers. So I know which part of the project has this source code where the ZAI integration is there. So table schema should be converted to Rust types, ideally at runtime. These are some technical terms. Of course, like I said, in these series of videos, we will go into some of those technical terms. So fear not at this moment, we're going to look into this ideally at runtime. So I'm just walking through. You can read this for yourself. Maybe a macro can help avoid hard-coded information or schema, etc. First, let's focus on the crate. You'll see this is a very natural human language prompt, as if from an engineer to another engineer to a developer, maybe one team member to another team member, maybe a product manager to an engineer, etc. Okay, I would say that this does have a reference to code, but that's only the files. I looked at the file and I'm like, yeah, this is probably the file that I need the new software to be referenced to, but nothing else. It's not like line by line going through a lot of deep concepts about code, etc. So that's a very high level. And then I will show you in the next videos. I'll show, because I want to keep each video a bit short. I'll show you the next prompts I made, and we'll walk through this entire exercise. We'll see how we went from that to the GUI project to now being able to query, and then actual SQL is coming back from the large language model. So yeah, stay tuned. This is going to be a fun experiment. I hope you like it, and then let me know what your thoughts are.